I would first like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And today, so many of the speakers earlier in this 2.5 day conference has laid a huge foundation for my presentation. So I'll be just building on top of them and adding my own comments. So title of my talk is Science and its Stakeholders. And so this is a brief outline of my talk. So I'll give a background, then we'll go towards some of the stakeholders, and then differences between science and a scientist, and then I have a small assignment for you all. So to give a background of myself, so I've done my bachelor's in computer engineering, and after that I started a biology community and where we organize various online events. And after that I was planning to go for a PhD in theoretical physics, but I realized that my goal, which is to understand how exactly the universe works, is less probable to be achieved if I become a researcher or a professor. And so I decided that I should come towards the business and administrative side of academia, and hence I started Academic Pot, which is my startup. So initially the plan was to have our own research institution for foundational sciences, but after talking to various professors and our advisors, so we came across what India right now is lacking is integration between industry and academia. And that's why our current model stands there, that we want to commercialize research, we want to promote scientists starting their own businesses, and that's why we have introduced this startup cohort for professor founders. So those professors, be it in any STEAM field, who want to start their own business and kind of commercialize the research, bring their research into the market, we'll help them do so by team building and getting them investors on board and various other consultancy services. So our vision is that we want to bring fundamental research and technology together to pace up the rate of progress of science. So I'm still figuring out how we can speed up the rate of progress of science, and if any one of you have ideas, I would love to know. And so why fundamental research and technology together? Because so if technology is advancing, and so advanced technology will kind of give us support to probe in more fundamental questions, and more fundamental knowledge we gain, so more advanced technology we can develop. So both go hand in hand, and unlike the current scenario where academia and industry people look down upon each other, so this should not be there. So they both should work together to prosper the society. So these are some observations. These are my observations and some personal accounts which I have got to know from other PhD students and professors in the academia. So there are inter and intra-department politics. We all know. We all have our examples from our own institutes. Then PhD students are afraid of the PIs. These are many places. This is the scenario. And stressful and competitive environment. So I'm not saying these are things everywhere. There are obviously good people as well, good policy makers as well, but we all know that somewhere or the other these problems exist, and we can't ignore them. And lack of inter-university collaborations, this is a very big thing. So even if people in the same university are collaborating, and especially this comes in a picture when there are kind of low tier institutes. So for example, an IIT professor would rarely think of getting collaborated with, for example, any example of some other university which we haven't heard of. But being in a low tier institute doesn't mean that the potential is not there within the professors or the researchers. And publish or perish, which exists, that quantity is preferred over quality. Now things are slowly changing, but a lot more has to be done. And lack of integration between industry and academia, as I said, and incompetent leadership. Again, we know all the examples. We have our own examples. And so this is the government. This is obvious slide. We all know that this should be done. So it's just to kind of make it a holistic picture. So I added this slide in the presentation. So a government should take active accountability for the limitations and drawbacks of the system at high priority, and implementation of better policies, programs, and schemes to ensure quality education, support great research, and foster scientific temperament. Now this is slide very important. So this is for the scientists. So communicate science is one of the top things that a scientist should do. Talk to the general public regularly. I have seen in various institutions, I won't name, but where science communication is not part of the institute ecosystem. So this should be done. And citizen science projects, so involve public in your research. I am sure, so there are some researchers in India that have their own citizen science projects, and I would like to, through this presentation, promote more such opportunities should exist. And inter and multidisciplinary collaborations, look for interesting ways to apply your work to other fields. Then inter-university collaborations, as I said in the previous slide, your place of work doesn't govern the potential or skills you carry. and upskill yourself, grow beyond your area of expertise. And this doesn't mean that you have to just expand your academic knowledge in various fields, but also you should learn communication skills, you should learn marketing, you should learn interpersonal skills. And because as an advisor, when you mentor your students, so all these things also matter. And at the end, everything is going to push forward the science to into further development. And participate in policy making, this is one of the most important points. And so work with government agencies and the private sector, show some activism. So there is no point of just sitting in your lab and doing the work. You have to come out, you have to talk to various policy makers, and you have to influence policy making, because what's the point of being a scholar if you're not getting involved in society development? And this is the PhD training. So one of the most important point is SciComm, Jungle mein mor nacha kisne dekha. So science is not, if not communicated effectively, has no value. Then teaching. So these three things, SciComm, teaching, and philosophy, should be ingrained into PhD training. They should be part of the curriculum. They should be part of the training program that PhDs go through in 5-year or 3-year program. So teaching, there is no such thing as just research or just teaching. As previous speakers have also mentioned, both go hand in hand. A good researcher with bad teaching skills hampers science. And philosophy. So I would say this. I would say this as the most important thing, because how good is a researcher who can't ask the right questions? How good is a scholar short of wisdom? And so just to give a reality check, so these are the differences between science and scientists. Science is objective, scientists may not. Science is self-correcting, scientists may not. Science is noble, scientists may not. Science is inclusive, scientists may not. Science is impartial, scientists may not. Science is rational, scientists may not. Scientists are human, science is a study. So I was a victim of this, and this slide is very important for young students and early career researchers to differentiate and not assign the same adjective that they do to science field to the same as they assign to science. So this is the short assignment that I have for you. So you don't have to type in your answers or tell me anything. You have to just answer this to yourself. And so, do you treat your students, including interns, respectfully? Do they talk good about you behind your back? I'll give a few seconds for you to answer. Then, are you open to different points of view? Do you maintain academic honesty and integrity? Do you stand up against bullying and harassment? Are you a philosopher or just a doctor of philosophy? So what we have to do is, instead of self-centric, we have to become a science-centric. We have to implement science-centric mindset. So because when in your personal growth only you are growing, but when you are thinking about science as a whole science grows, and when science grows, you also grow. So I would end with this quote by Nicholas Stern: "Science and policy making thrive on challenge and questioning. They are vital to the health of inquiries and democracy." The floor is open for discussions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bandhan, for very insightful slides, and maybe people can now comment on some of these thoughts.
Yeah.
Shubhranshu and
Yes, sir.
Rita, a number of you may have some comments.
Yes, Bandhan.
Yeah.
Actually, what are you doing right now?
So I'm working full time on my startup, Academic Pod. So where we are promoting.
Is already been registered, or is it an idea?
No, this is registered.
Okay. So what is the goal of your Bandhan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to kind of help professors to set up their own businesses. So we are kind of an added layer on top of existing university incubators. And we all know that incubators are there. It is a requirement from the central government that every university should have an incubator. But also at many places, incubators are just for the namesake. They're not actually working properly as they should. And
what is your team's personal expertise in this area?
Right. So this is we have contractual. We do this on a contractual basis. So we have so for example, our mentorship. So we have people who have decades of experience of building businesses who will be mentoring our portfolio startups. And then we have like professional professional brand strategists, professional marketing experts, professional web developers, and so forth, who will be working with the startups.
Okay.
Bandhan, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like you just commented that those incubators are for namesake and they are not working. When you are doing a startup, I suggest you to avoid such comment, because those in university incubation centers, they have been accredited by some government organization like DST or Atal Innovation Centers. So don't make such comment. Another thing is, Do
So
you work like a accelerator? It's accelerator.
yes, so to answer the first question, so someone has to talk about it. We can't just ignore the real scenario. And
No,
second, yeah, yeah, please
no,
go on.
it's fine. But for this kind of thing, no, you are a startup and you are also doing the same thing. Those incubators are really struggling hard with many other challenges. So it is better not to talk in forum like this. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, that is his comment, and I think what his perspective, I think, is Shubhranshu's is that it is better to do something more positive and creative rather than criticizing something
Exactly.
kind of with a broader brush.
Exactly.
Because there are some Atal incubation
Yes,
centers,
sir.
for example, the venture
Yes, yes.
center in NCL. There are almost like 96 companies and 56 of them are doing quite well and so on. So these,
Right,
these folks are doing quite nice.
right.
Dr. Premnath, you may be aware, he is a PhD in business management from MIT and he has done that in Venture Center in NCL. So there are
Right.
many places where all sort of diverse things happen and you can obviously have your own space to support somewhere, some people who may access to those kinds of things.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
so
not generalizing. I'm not
yeah,
generalizing
that's
to
fine.
all the
That's
that.
fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Understood. I see
Sir, I
Dr.
am just
Dipali.
want to tell something like the gentleman who just presented. You don't
Okay,
require to be accredited by any university or anything at all. If you are truthful and your organization is planning to do something for good for the society, you don't worry for anything.
Yeah.
Why I am
yes,
telling you, the reason is today is a modern world. That world change, the king, queen, we are the head. Without your permission, you cannot do. Forget that one.
Right.
yes.
As what you are doing right. Don't listen to anybody, any accreditation. This is AI world. One day I will tell you there will be no professor, there will be no university. You are competent, you will get a job. That's all. Believe
Good.
me, I came from a merchant navy career. I as a captain, then marine engineer, industrial engineer. Now I am planning to diagnostic equipment for patient
Very
with
good.
the help of AI. So
Thanks, Dr.
we
Bhavani.
believe we have some Indian value. That's why I asked the gentleman AICT, what is the Indian value? Are we at the snake chamber or we will leading the world? There are two things. Are we at the leader of the world or will be the snake chamber like 70 years before? So it's up to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Dr. Dipali Sarvate, I see that you want to say something.
Yes, yes, yes. My question to a young entrepreneur, Bandhan. So you said the incubators are not working. So what you expect? I'm from an engineering background, and we have Atal Incubation Center in campus. But other than that, we have a local incubator in our institute. So what you expect from the incubator? Because the startups which are coming may not be, more of them are not going in the technical line, and though
Right.
we are at a technical institute, so how an incubator will support? What are your views as a from a youth
Right.
perspective?
So one thing is that so incubators are kind of in a very restricted space because those are physical. So how different is our model is we are virtual. And so when someone a startup joins an incubator, the most added value that comes from is from peer startups. Okay, so whether my colleagues or so because if there is a university incubator, they are kind of majorly restricted to that region only. So those are region specific because and physical space is assigned and so forth. But in case of what more incubators should do is add more value in terms of mentorship, have a diverse kind of mentoring from for the portfolio startups and just not.
So you give them a bigger sky of
Right, and
you know,
also right, and also in so for example, people who will act as mentors who are MBA professors, and as compared to people who will act as mentors who have actually built businesses, that's a very big difference.